back to Just See Through TV. In this episode, we're going to be talking about clarity and how you can use clarity to achieve anything you want. So to get what we really want, there are two things that we have to have clarity on. The first is where we are, and the second is where we want to go. To explain the importance of this, I want to start by giving you an example. So I want you to imagine that you and your friend decide to go on a road trip, and you guys are getting really excited for all the fun things you're gonna do when you get where you're gonna go. The trip is gonna be sort of long and there's a number of things to keep track of, so you decide to divide up the tasks between you and your friend, and you decide that you'll be the driver and your friend will be the navigator, and they'll have their Google Maps. You're going out of town and you're driving, and as you've been going for a while, you start to run a little bit low on gas, but you're still sort of doing okay. And the sun is setting, but it's not quite all the way set yet. But then a little while later, the car kind of starts to slow down and you realize you're out of gas and you don't know where you are. So the first thing you do is you stop and you look at your friend and you say, "Hey, what the heck happened? Where are we?" Right? And at this point, you're pissed off, right? I mean, you're supposed to be on this fun trip and your friend just had this one job to do. They're just supposed to put this in Google Maps and tell you to where to go. Now you're out of gas. They're messing up your plans and your vacation, and things are just not going the way that you wanted them to go. And so I want you to imagine that you've been venting and you're pissed off. This was the one trip you get to take and you finally got off work and this was like your moment to do something fun. And as you're finally kind of finishing up, letting your friend have it, things kind of get quiet and your friend turns to you and they look at you and they say in a quiet voice, "You didn't tell me where to go." In real life, you are the driver, but you're also the co-pilot. And all of the different roads that you can take represent the different paths that you can take in life. We decide what we put in Google Maps. We decide where it is that we want to go. And Google Maps actually has a lot of similarities with our own mind. It is incredibly powerful and it can get us pretty much anywhere in the world that we want to go. But Google Maps does have one flaw. It cannot get you where you want to go if you don't put it in there in a very, very clear way. Guys, this means that if we don't know where we want to go, we're almost guaranteed to fail unless by some miracle we make it there by chance, but the chances are almost impossible that that will happen. Like Google Maps, our minds work on vivid detail, not on generality. Let's go back to the example with the two friends. What if that first friend said to the second friend to put in the Google Maps, "Hey, we're going to that town." Do you know what would happen if we put that town in Google Maps? And even if we put just part of that address in the wrong way, it can still take us to the totally wrong place. This same thing is very similar to when we say things like, "I just want to be happy, I just want to have money, I just want to be successful, I just want to be liked, I just want to have a good romance life, I just want..." All of these things that we say, you know what these things mean to our brain? And this is the same way when we tell Google Maps that city, that town, that restaurant, that place, that hotel. You know what Google Maps does when we tell it those things? It basically laughs at us, if it could laugh. But what it does is it will take us somewhere wrong, right? With like a very small chance of getting it right. Or it will just give us an error message and we just have to sit in the parking lot and do nothing. That being said, if we do put in the system, either Google Maps or our brain, very, very clearly where it is that we want to go, it is absolutely incredible how it can get us there. To illustrate this, I want to give you an example from my own life. So I always loved cars. I remember I had this memory of when we were in New York visiting some family, and there was this light blue Ferrari that drove down the street. My little brother and I, we kind of ran after it because we thought it looked so cool, and we got to meet the guy who was driving it and look at his car. Before getting into real estate, I actually worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and so I got to drive lots and lots of cars, which was really cool for me. And the first car that I ever had was a 2007 Mazda 3. But I started to think, as I saw all these different cars, got to drive all these cars, of okay, well, what type of car do I want? And it wasn't gonna be enough for me to say, oh, I want a cool car, or I want a car that I will like, because we've learned, right, that our brain doesn't actually work that way. It works more like Google Maps works, where it needs to know, okay, what is it that you want? Where is it that you want me to go? So I thought about it, and finally I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted. And I wanted a new Corvette, a new body style. I wanted to be black. I wanted dark red leather interior. I wanted it to have less than 10,000 miles on it. I wanted it to be about $40,000 before taxes and fees and things like that. I wanted it to be convertible. And I would imagine how it looked, and we even had some Corvettes at the airport for Enterprise, so I would sit in the cars. And I remember I even had this really, really cool image in my head that I would see sometimes, where I could see myself driving all around Central Florida, like with the top down. My plan was to get this car within 1 year of getting into real estate. And I'll be honest, I didn't get it in 1 year. It was more like a year and 10 months. But I ended up getting the car, and it was almost exactly what I wanted. It was black, which I wanted, new body style, less than 10,000 miles. The price was the same. It was a convertible. And guys, in the past year and a half, I have a lot of examples like this in my life where I got very clear of where I wanted to go and I got there. But that clarity was such a massive, massive part in it. And if I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go, I wouldn't have been able to get there. And the other part of clarity that we sometimes forget, guys, is that we also have to know where we are now. Let's go back to the Google Maps example. Let's say that you do know the hotel you want to go to, but you have no idea where you're coming from. Or you do know the body you want to get, but you don't know how much you weigh now and what your body percentage fat is now, and you don't know the calories you're eating now, and you have no way to track it. By gathering as much detail as we possibly can about where we are right now, the results we're getting right now, where we stand in the most honest way possible, that's really, really going to be helpful. The same way that Google Maps needs to know where are we and where are we going. For us too, we need to know where am I right now in as much detail as I can explain, and same thing for where am I wanting to go. So I think kind of a normal next question would be, okay, Justin, so I get that I need clarity to be successful and I need to know where I am and where I'm going, but what if I don't have clarity, and what if I don't know the answers to those things? Like, what should I do? Well, to give you an example, let's say, you don't want to tell your mind, I want a lot of money, but instead maybe you could tell your mind, or you could start asking yourself the question, how much do I want in my checking account? How much do I want to make per month or per year? Where do I want to be at in the next 3 years or 5 years with how much is in my checking account? Or what investments do I want to have? And maybe even like, what do I want my credit score to be? Let's say if you're telling your mind, I just want to be happy, and we know that our mind doesn't know what to do with that, maybe you could start thinking about, okay, well, what is it that really makes me happier? When am I the happiest? What do I love to do? What do I do that makes me feel like I'm flying, that makes me feel amazing? Or what would you do if you could just do it all the time? Or what would you do if you had more free time? What do you do that you're passionate about? What do you do that you're good at? And you start to kind of piece together, like, when am I most happy? When am I most fulfilled? When do I feel most at peace? They could be places, they could be activities, they could be being with certain people, but really, really breaking that down as much as possible to say not just I want to be happy, but what does that mean, so that you can know where it is you're going and really get there. Now guys, I also want to bring us to something that I think is a misconception about clarity that I want to try to help to make a little more clear. I think there's a lot of people that think that they just know, that that person just knows what they're supposed to do and you just don't. But I honestly think it's a lot more like if somebody has a really good body, it's not that they just have a good body, it was that they created that. And it's not that you just don't have a good body, it was that maybe you did certain things to get you there, you know? So when we see somebody that everything is just clicking and they just know exactly where they're supposed to go and they're going there, that wasn't really an accident. They didn't really fall out of bed and just have that clarity. It was something that they developed that clarity because they felt that they had to, because they were serious about the result that they wanted. So the same way, if you're serious about getting an incredible body, that you really sit down and say, okay, you know, how many days a week am I gonna work out? What am I gonna eat? When am I gonna sleep? And you really make it happen. That person who is serious about success, we have to be able to get that clarity of, okay, where am I going? Where am I going? We have to know that. And the same way that we go to the gym to get that body, to get that clarity, we kind of do the same thing, except we sit down and get a pad of paper and a pen, or maybe your computer, and really start to write or start to type and think, okay, so what do I want? Where do I want to go? If everything was perfect, how would that look? If my life could be perfect, how would it look? And really allow your mind to kind of grow and flex and expand, and don't really think as much about what you think might be possible that you want, but really just whatever it is that you want, and then just getting as much clarity about that as you can. And guys, the same way that we're doing more and more sit-ups over time, over many weeks or maybe even a couple months, we'll start to really get clarity with our abs, our stomach. It's the same way with this type of clarity. I can tell you that at least on a weekly basis, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, what would my life look like if it were perfect? What would this look like if it was going exactly the way that I wanted it to? And I'm always kind of tweaking it. I'm always kind of adjusting and trying to get more and more clarity on what is it that I want to happen? Because if I don't know what I want to happen, it's impossible for me to make it happen. So I spend a lot of time on this of how can I get more clarity? Where is it that I want to go? Am I really sure about where it is that I want to go? And if I'm not, how can I keep getting those details and keep kind of painting that picture so that my mind knows how to take me there the same way that Google Maps would know how to take me there. So guys, that's it for this episode. Clarity is so, so important. You really can do absolutely incredible things if you have the honesty with yourself to see where you are right now and then where you want to go. And remember, the same way as Google Maps, we learned that our minds really thrive on details. So not saying, I want to be happy, I want to be successful, but okay, what does that look like? If everything was perfect and your success, what would that look like? That's when we really start figuring it out. And the same way that Google Maps can take us almost anywhere in the world, our brains can actually do the same thing. We can get clarity, and our brains are so, so powerful and obsessing about a way to get us there. You can use this to achieve anything you want. So guys, that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being with me. Always a pleasure being here with you. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me to kind of have that feedback, because maybe you're loving the videos and enjoying them, but if I don't see you subscribe, it might be hard for me to know if this is adding value. So please subscribe so that I know that, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.